This thrilling football game that for 3 quarters was odd in the sense that the field tilted so heavily in the favor of Miami. Trinidad Chambliss pregame embrace with his mom. It's 3-0. The whole first quarter was all Canes, and with one play, Kewan Lacey changes the scoreboard, changes the game, but did have a hamstring issue on that run as Miami gives up the 73-yard touchdown. They now trail 7-3, but Lacey's injury significant. Under 3 to go in the first half. It's a 10-10 game. Carson Beck rolls, looks. He's got Keelan Marion wide open. And as Kirk Herbstreit pointed out on the broadcast, Nick Call thinks that Carson's looking underneath, and that leaves the back end of this football field nude. And that means Marion and the Canes are celebrating at 17-10. 17-13. 3rd and 12, and the Canes driving for more. The pass is deflected. Kapeta Gashikin is there to get his hands underneath it. Pete Golding loving that. And here comes Lucas Carnero, who had hit one off the upright, no good. This one smooch off the left upright and good from 54. And it's 17-16. Fourth quarter, absolute mayhem. 3rd and goal. Chambliss. Lacey back in there, can't squeeze it. Ole Miss gets the field goal that gives them the lead. And Eli Manning trying to keep calm. Good luck with that. Miami, 2nd and 2 on their side of the field. Now they're on the Ole Miss side. Mark Fletcher had 133. Canes are driving. At some point, you know that the electrifying freshman Malachi Tony is going to put his stamp on this game. There he goes. 36 yards to the house. Miami back in front, 24-19. You just heard Mario Cristobal rave about Chambliss. At some point, he's going to put his mark on this game, and there he goes. A big gain of 19 later in the drive. This was a perfect play design and a perfect throw. Daquan Wright and the Rebs are up by 1. They'll go for 2. The ensuing 2-point conversion. They hadn't really been down here much. This one drive got inside the red zone, so if they were sitting on a 2-point play, they had it in their back pocket. There it is, Caleb Odom. Clutch play. Ole Miss now leads by 3. 3rd down was the money down all night. Carson Beck was great. Going to talk to Dusty Dvorak about that a little bit later. C.J. Daniels extends. The drive continues. Now 2nd and goal. And it's Beck buying time, and there's nobody to his left running directly towards a pocket of Canes fans. He said it's the best feeling of his life after the game. The opposite side of it for Coach Golding and the Rebs. But they've got time, and they've got Chambliss. And he climbs the pocket and finds Dejon Stribling for a gain of 17. One play for the rest of their lives. Ole Miss looking left. Mutual combat was the way it was described afterwards. Certainly some hand fighting both ways. O'Connor and Stribling each with their hands on one another. They tend to let that go on Hail Marys. There is no flag. I'm sure Rebs fans are complaining about that. They would have loved one more play from the 20. They don't get it. Instead, Mario Cristobal and Miami are victorious. They're heading home for the first game in 2 months on that field for an opportunity to win the chip. When you talk about the U and you talk about their proud history, they've got it, but it's before HD. You think about one of the most loaded rosters ever. 2001, 17 players from that squad went on to become first-round draft picks. Think about what I just said. 17 first-round draft picks. 10 of their 12 wins came by at least 20, including a 23-point win over Nebraska. That was the last one. They're trying to add another at home. Joey Galloway, kind enough to stop by. Joey, it's Scott Van Pelt. Man, this is good to talk to you. All I do is watch you on TV and watch you and Herbie do your pod. And now you and I get to talk about what was a scintillating fourth quarter that went back and forth. What'd you make of the Canes' ability to answer and then ultimately get the final stop?
That's why you go get Carson Beck. I mean, throughout the season, in situations where they needed to make a play. At times, it just wasn't there for this team. They had those 2 losses in the middle of the season where they threw a bunch of interceptions, lost those games, and since then they've been a different football team. And in this one, this was different. In the first 2 games they won in the playoff, it was protect the ball, don't make a mistake out of Carson Beck, don't turn it over, and let's try to run the football. This one, in the end, in that fourth quarter, they needed Carson Beck to make play after play, and he did that going over the middle of the field, which is something he wasn't willing to do in the first 2 games. But this was the Carson Beck that Miami fans expected to see when they went and got this guy that's played a lot of football.
That's such a great point, something I'm going to visit with Dusty Dvorak a little bit later, right? You think about, I mean, Trinidad Chambliss is an excellent player as well, and from Ferris State, and he's great. I mean, you heard, if you were listening, you heard what Coach Cristobal said, that he was better than they even thought he'd be. But the benefit of having played so many games and so many high leverage games, that shows itself in that fourth quarter, doesn't it, Joey?
It felt like there was never a doubt. It felt like if there was time on the clock and Miami got the ball back, that Carson Beck was going to make those plays. And in tough spots and third downs where they needed to make a play. And if you listened to the game and you heard Fowler kept asking Herbie, hey, are they going to try to go for this or protect the ball because they're in field goal range? And Miami's attitude was, we got Carson Beck. He's played a lot of football. Let's go get it. And he made those plays. He was amazing.
Whoever they play in the final, either Indiana or Oregon, I feel like there's a recipe here, Joey, and it's been around as long as I've watched football. If you run the ball and if you play defense, you can win games. You can shrink games and you can win games. I feel like as much as Beck was required tonight, I think the recipe for whoever they face is run it and play defense. I see you nod your head. You share that sentiment?
Yeah, that's been their recipe. Miami had the ball for 20 more minutes than Ole Miss had the ball in this game. In the first half, they dominated, but they were only up 4 going in, and it didn't feel like Ole Miss was in the game. And give Ole Miss credit. They came back out. They made the plays they needed to make. But in the end, running the football for Miami has been the key. We've had a ton of conversations about Carson Beck, about Malachi Toney, but Mark Fletcher Jr. has been the key to what they're doing. He went over 130 in this game. And that's the key to having the ball 20 more minutes. Hey, it's tough to lose when you're that talented and you have the ball for 20 more minutes. You have a physical offensive line, which we watch them push Ole Miss around the field a lot of times. And at sometimes in those games, you're thinking, why is Miami even throwing the ball? They look more physical. The offensive line is dominating, and Mark Fletcher Jr. is getting off. And running the ball, keeping the ball away from the other team. If we could just get one more of these tomorrow night, please, out of Indiana and Oregon, another game like this is what the playoff is all about. The national championship game is going to be terrific.
The hell with that. Let's be greedy. Give me one tomorrow night and then give me one on Monday, 10 days from there.
Absolutely.
All right, good. We're on the same page. We'll see you there. We'll be down there to do our show live tomorrow night from Atlanta. Joey, I hope we cross paths there, Miami somewhere. I appreciate you taking time, all right?
Yeah, thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Always. Joey Galloway visiting with us as we continue. You heard Chris Fowler say it. It's cliche, but it is a shame someone came up on the short end of this one. We'll hear the thoughts of Ole Miss as they come up 4 points short in the national semi. The Ram Trucks postgame is brought to you by Ram Trucks. Nothing stops Ram.
Catch Pitbull live from All-State Championship Tailgate in Miami, Florida on the Capital One Music Stage. And be sure to tune in to the College Football Playoff National Championship, Monday, January 19th on ESPN.
Going to visit with Dusty Dvorak in just a moment. To the victor go the spoils. And the spoils this time of year means 60 more minutes in the clock, and you get to flip that down marker. There's the touchdown for Beck. 4th lead change of the frantic fourth quarter. And then they had to hang on and withstand the Chambliss Hail Mary. Ole Miss fought their butts off, honored themselves in defeat. Here they are on what was close but not quite.
We knew it was going to be hard. I mean, guys, it's the semifinals. It's supposed to be hard. and when these games, you got to be at your best. You got to play at your best. You got to coach at your best. And if you don't deserve to win. I mean, it's the semifinals go to the national championship game. So I thought we had our opportunity by not playing our best game, and that's what we said at halftime. We haven't played our best up to this point. We've been here before. All right, let's go out here and let's spot the ball, and let's find a way to make it one possession in the fourth quarter and find a way to win the game. And our kids came back and did that and went up. And so hats off to them. We just got to find a way to close it. Got to do a better job coaching.
For me, just thinking about, my brothers, people that have sacrificed so much to be in this position. There's a lot that goes on behind the scenes, whether it's film, weight room stuff, and, other things as well. And just this team has just sacrificed a lot, to get to this point. And this season's been bumpy, and there's been a lot of things going on. And, they just kept our focus. It's been just truly special.
Dusty Dvorak, as promised, with me in studio. At some point, we'll learn to stop taking notes for three quarters, because we've got three quarters, and it's the time of possession is 3-1, and Ole Miss doesn't have a third down conversion. And how is this game even close? They're dropping all these picks. And then 25 points and 4 lead changes later, we throw that out the window. When people talked about Miami and they doubted them in the playoff, why was the reason they doubted them?
Carson Beck. Could you trust Carson Beck?
I was one of them.
No,
I was one of them.
And no bigger opportunity tonight than to find out, can we trust Carson Beck? And boy,
what did he show us?
Gained everyone's trust and some. So he was fabulous on third down.
Right.
7 of 9 tonight on third down. No bigger third down. 3rd and 10 final drive. I'm going to draw you the route combination. It's going to be a return route from Malachi Toney. He's going to be a decoy, and they're going to hit Marion on this deep dig route. Okay, but I want you to keep an eye on right here inside on Malachi Toney, because on this return, what's going to happen here, as he comes inside, he's going to draw TJ Daugherty, this linebacker. He's going to come in. And then as he works back out, he's going to take this man-to-man coverage back out with him. And it's going to naturally open up this beautiful throwing lane for Carson Beck. By the way, you got to have protection. They protected him all night. All this works together. The route combination, opening up that window, the time, and you can't throw it any better than that right there. Huge third down.
7 for 114, by the way, for Marion.
I mean, Marion was great, but 7 for 9.
Yeah.
7 first downs on third down tonight for Carson Beck. Money down. Got to have it throws. Got to have it in that spot. How about this? I'm going to show you this because you're asking, how does this thing get so wide open? How could you have walked in for a touchdown?
My foot speed's underappreciated.
It is. It's right. Now watch. Okay, here's going to be the game up front. This is going to be the looper. This tackle's going to come in. This end's going to come in. They're actually going to run on top of each other, and it's going to cancel out one of the defensive linemen, and then we're going to get one more inside. Okay, so that's the pass rush. Now, that's what's happening there. Here outside, we got man-to-man here. We got man-to-man here. We got man-to-man here. Everybody's routes are going to go inside, okay? So we're going to run coverage off. Watch this unfold now, okay? Now we got pressure coming from right over here. You can see this. Watch Carson Beck step up, and then when he steps up, watch him see this come wide open. As I said, one of those guys falls down. It's wide open. There's no defender there. They're running in man-to-man coverage. They lose their pass rush lanes, and Carson Beck, with enough room for you to walk through, for me to walk through, and he's the hero. What a moment for him. And I just think about all the naysayers, the people that question his leadership, question could he get it done in the clutch.
Yeah.
For him to be on this stage in this moment, to produce all night. Boy, you got to have it. 3 minutes to go. Ball's in your hand. Go win it for me, kid. For him to come up with those clutch plays down the stretch was massive.
He had a couple of big first down runs as well on third down. So, I mean, third down, he couldn't have been better. But, I mean, you framed it well. You showed the one throw and then obviously the touchdown run. But, I mean, Miami had to answer. And as we're watching this game, you kept talking to me about how many starts this guy's played. And I said it to either Joey or Chris. I mean, high leverage, whether it's at Georgia. I mean, he's been in the deep end of the pool. I have to think that helped him and showed itself in this game.
41 starts. Tonight was his 36th victory, 16 against ranked opponents. You bet your bottom that matters. He's been in these spots. He's been in these moments. He's ready for it. And on the sideline, I mean, you can't prepare for this in practice. You know, when you've been through this, when you've been in SEC championship games, when you've been in big moments, balls in your hand, for him to have that poise and be able to come up with those plays, absolutely huge.
You had them a game ago, and so you've seen them with your own eyeballs, and they're deep because the U's always deep. But, I mean, you're throwing true freshmen out there to try to cover. Stribling and actually some good plays were made there. But I wonder, are 10 days enough for them to get healthy enough for whoever they're going to face? Because as talented as they are on that defensive side, they are a bit banged up at the moment.
Yeah, they're banged up. You know, Xavier Lucas, he also got that targeting. He may have to miss that first half of the next game. But look, I'm not questioning this team. They play with violence. They play with toughness. That offensive line was mashing people tonight, and they got a veteran quarterback. So, yeah, they got to get healthy on the defensive side, no question. But absolutely, I can't wait to see what the matchup is. Miami's going to be ready to play. And, by the way, it's at home. They're not going to have far to travel.
How wild is that? They will not have played at home in 2 months. I mean, Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year, all of that, and then you come back home with a chance to play for the chip and you play for the U. Can't wait to be there, and we'll be with you in Atlanta as well tomorrow. More to come from Dusty as we continue. Speaking of, as we continue, the U is back in the chip. We'll show you how they got here or there, however you want to frame it. More highlights from the Canes.
Miami 24, Ole Miss 27. Here comes the big moment that takes, drops, looks, wants to throw it down the road. Carson back into the end zone. He runs it in over the left side. Carson Beck takes it in for a Miami touchdown. Carson Beck is your Hurricanes hero. Miami wins 31-27, and the Hurricanes will play for the national championship.
They will, and we look at the path that they have taken after they were a somewhat controversial inclusion as the last team in. They went into the belly of the beast. Kyle Field, a 3-3 game, and this is a 3rd and 5 handoff to Malachi Toney. Number 10 is going to imprint the game somehow or another, and then the Aggies go right down the field looking for a tying score. Bryce Fitzgerald, what a time to make your presence felt. His 2nd pick of the game and first college football playoff win for the Hurricanes. That earned them the right to play in the Cotton Bowl against Ohio State, who had looked like a wrecking ball throughout this season. This was such a gigantic play. Julian Sand, picked by Keontae Scott, doesn't just blow up the play, really turns the game on its heel. Here's what Scott saw on that play.
You know, with all the skill players on one side of the ball, so obviously knew the ball was coming in that area. And then as soon as the tight end, motion, I kind of confirmed in my head that I was made up in my mind that I was going at that moment. Shot my shot, and the ball went in my hands. I took a little moment to peek at the sideline and look at everybody and let them know what's going on.
Number 4, Mr. Bain's presence was felt on that play as well. That gave Miami a lead. They were able to win in the end by 10. And then tonight against Ole Miss, they ran it for, what was it, Dusty? $177?
91.
Oh, excuse me, 191 on the ground. But again, 10 is going to make his presence felt. There goes Toney. And that touchdown gave Miami the lead. But after Ole Miss answered with a score of their own, it's Beck. You got a DT who hit the deck up the middle for the Rebs. And that creates a clear lane for Beck to race in and score. And then Chambliss, this last hope. And again, I'll say it because I'm sure Rebs fans are. Mutual combat was the description of the hand fighting that went on there. Miami, who had a late flag once in a playoff game that was significant. No flag here, and they'll play for the title for the first time since 2003. Their 3rd national championship game appearance, first since 2002. That ended in heartbreaking fashion. As I mentioned, it was a late flag that led to overtime. They'll look for, not revenge, but they'll look for a victory against a Big Ten team in the title. It'll be on their home field. More context and content as it relates to the U national championship game, looking for their 6th. Mario Cristobal won 2 as a player, 89 and 91. Looks to add to the mantle as a head coach. The game will be played at Hard Rock Stadium. They become the first team since the inception of title games in '98 to play in their home stadium. They'll be the 3rd to do it in their home state, the first to do it since LSU won it all in New Orleans.